Dad, there was this RV and they were playing on it. We thought there was someone inside.
How far would you go to protect your family? That question opens Prisoners, and it's the question that took 6 years, 4 would-be directors, and a script that almost never got made to finally land on screen. This is the story of how Prisoners came together. The writer who couldn't sell it, the director who almost said no, and the cast that turned a brutal, uncomfortable thriller into one of the most quietly influential crime films of 2013.
I kind of worked on it for like a year or two, and I'd work on it at night, in the mornings. I was working this job, and eventually it took a while because I did many drafts of it. My manager would send me notes, I'd do another draft, and so on and so forth, and then finally got it to a point where we figured it was done, and barely managed to get an agent with it because every agency in town was like, "This is ridiculously dark, and we don't have a clue what to do with it."
But here's the part most people don't know. The project nearly died more than once. Directors came and went. Bryan Singer was attached. So was Antoine Fuqua. Christian Bale and Leonardo DiCaprio both circled the lead at different points. None of it stuck. The person who actually kept the project alive wasn't a director at all. It was Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg was attached to it for a while, and he kind of championed it, and he ended up being a producer on it. And we went through a lot of different incarnations of directors and actors and so on and so forth. And then finally, we sold it to Alcon, and they just bought it with no attachments. And but even after that, it took time to figure out who was going to direct it, who was going to star in it, and then eventually. It landed in Denis Villeneuve after they had seen it on Sunday, and he met with them, and soon after he signed on, he was able to get the thing greenlit. And
Hugh Jackman had the script. He believed in it completely. What he didn't have yet was a director, and that search would take over a year.
Because the script came towards me probably a year before Denis came on board, and I loved Aaron's script, and Kira loved Aaron's script. And it was a kind of script that could have got made like that. It could have become a more generic thriller, as you say. It could have veered that way. And Kira was like, "We've got to find the right director." And it was a year later when Kira came to me and said, "You've got to watch this movie, Incendie," which embarrassingly I hadn't seen, and you've got to meet Denis.
The movie follows the story of two families whose children go missing on Thanksgiving, and really what happens to them and what happens in the search to find them. It is, in a way, a classic ticking clock kind of suspense thriller, and really beautifully written with great twists and turns. It will absolutely 100% keep you on the edge of your seat.
By 2011, Denis Villeneuve was a Quebec filmmaker most American audiences hadn't heard of, but his film Incendies had just been nominated for the Best Foreign Language Oscar. That nomination opened the floodgates. Suddenly, Hollywood was sending him scripts. Prisoners was one of them.
What attracted me is that it was the exploration of how those characters were reacting toward that kind of strong violence, and the way they were spreading violence themselves after. It was, for me, a very powerful story, and very dark, but saying sad, accurate things about North America today. I think that Prisoner screenplay was a beautiful exploration of violence and our relationship with violence. And then I fell in love with it. I had the same kind of approach that the producer wanted the movie to be.
With Denis now attached, the next challenge was building the two men at the heart of the story, a desperate father and a determined detective. Characters that would need to feel as real and as broken as the world around them.
Hugh Jackman, I had a meeting here in New York with Hugh Jackman, and we just got along quickly because basically I think he felt really comfortable about the way I wanted to approach violence in the movie, my responsibility toward violence, the way I wanted to depict it in the screen.
Keller Dover is not an easy character to love. He's a survivalist, a man of deep faith, and when his daughter disappears, he becomes something far more dangerous. Hugh Jackman understood that complexity from the very first page.
I saw the ambition of being two movies in one, of being a whodunit, very gripping, edge of your seat kind of thriller. I first of all, I'm gullible, so I never kind of guess who did it, but there really are so many twists and turns in this that are fascinating and so much fun to go along the ride of. So it is entertaining that way, but I also felt uncomfortable reading it, and I felt challenged by it, and left me with many, many questions. And I could see the ambition of that from the beginning, but it wasn't until Denis came on board that I say yes, because it needed a director of his quality and of his sensitivity to be able to balance the two.
What makes Keller compelling isn't just his rage, it's the faith underneath it. Denis Villeneuve saw prayer not as a religious detail, but as a window into the man's entire psychology.
Over his relationship with religion, it was something that was present in the script. The character was listening to tapes in his car. But I felt that I changed that a bit, because I said to myself, the idea was it was necessary to make the movie according to me, to be close to the father, to be more intimate with him. And one of the most intimate thing that you can do as a human being is when you pray. Whatever is your religion, I mean, the relationship you have with your own God is something that is so intimate. And I brought the idea of hearing Keller-Dover's praying in a different way as the movie is moving forward.
Keller-Dover had his anchor, but Prisoners was always conceived as a two-hander. On the other side of that equation was a detective named Loki, and finding the right actor to play him would prove just as defining a choice.
Actually, we were making Denis and I were making another film. Yeah, an enemy.
Right.
We were in the middle of making that film, which was an extraordinary experience. It was an incredible collaboration artistically. We would sort of discover things as we went, and we would finish the day off, go have dinner, get a little drunk, and then discuss more, wake up the next morning. It would evolve the scenes or the situations in the movie that we were working on. And he came to me one day. I thought at first it was a little bit of a joke, and he said, I'm doing this next movie with Hugh Jackman, and I would love for you to play a part in it. And really, truly, it was the relationship that we had made on that movie and his, just his garnering of trust over that period of time that made me say, I just want to continue to work with this guy. That was the initial impression and response I had, was I just want to work with him again. Then I read the script and I was blown away by just the puzzle of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he really wanted me to play the narrator in a way of the whole piece, which the detective often is.
Right.
And he said, I really want to find a real character in there. And since we had been doing that on An Enemy, I said, I would love to.
Detective Loki is the other half of Prisoners, where Keller-Dover operates on faith and fury. Loki operates on instinct and obsession. He's a man defined by what he doesn't say as much as what he does. Finding that character took research, collaboration, and one very unexpected phone call.
Well, I had done a lot of research in law enforcement. I'd spent 6 months making a movie called End of Watch, which is about two police officers, 2 movies before I did this movie. And so I had spent 6 months with law enforcement, LAPD and Sheriff's Department in Los Angeles, spending, five nights a week with them on the streets, different sets of partners. So I went through extensive training already in law enforcement. But as a detective, I had not done any work. I knew a few guys who were detectives, and I'd made relationships with them. But the first thing that I did was contact a guy that I know who is a sheriff in Breckenridge, Colorado, who was in the LAPD for 15 years and then retired to Colorado. Well, not retired. He's still working as a sheriff, but exactly. he's in Colorado now. And we started talking. He does a lot of detective work. So we started talking, and I was fascinated by, in the script, the character was sort of narrative implement, is what I would say, as detectives often are. They're the ones to ask the questions, be the eyes of the audience, and so forth. And this guy, I was interested in him being a question mark himself, because most law enforcement that...
Question mark because he seems like a haunted man, or what?
There were 2 reasons for it. I mean, one, I think any great detective has to be infatuated with the criminal mind in order to probe it, and then at the same time want to bring it to justice. So really love the people that he's working to try and find or solve the case for. So I there's that. And then I think most of the detectives I met, some of them actually had criminal past themselves.
That internal intensity needed an external expression. So Dennis and Jake built it into Loki's body, his tattoos, his eye tick, Details that would make him feel like a man carrying a history the film never fully explains.
The thing is that about the tattoos, it was things that were brought by Jake from the study we made together of the character. I mean, he had that. I wanted the character to be more defined. I wanted to create a real human being in front of the camera, and Jake and I and Aaron Guzikowski, the screenwriter, brainstormed together to try to go out of the cliché and create a unique detective. Because a detective in cinema, we saw 10,000, a million of detectives before, so we were trying to create something original as much as possible.
Yeah, we sat down a couple times, me, Jake, and the director, and we would talk about the character and, you know, things he would or wouldn't do. And I kind of wrote up this backstory for Jake in terms of, you know, where he came from and what I did know about him. But yeah, and I mean, at first you're like, well, you know, and he's the things that we're adding, the tattoos and the ticks and stuff like that. It can be great, or it can just be too much, you know. Or so, and I think it's you have to trust in the director or the actor that they're gonna do it right, and they did. I think it's just you have to, but also I think it's just kind of good to keep anything that makes it better is good, regardless of whose idea it was or where it came from.
When Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal finally shared the screen, something happened that nobody could have fully scripted. Two very different actors, two very different characters, but a chemistry that elevated every scene they were in together.
And why did you look for my fucking daughter rather than fucking... Hey. Don't follow me. Hey, Mr. Doyle.
Hugh brought a lot of vulnerability to this character, and that's what I was aiming for, because people, I remember some executive saying that they were afraid that the audience wouldn't love Keller Dover, the father. So we don't like the main character, and I was saying to them, it's not that important. We don't have to love him. We have to understand why he's going in that direction. We have to we don't have to agree with him, but we have to be close to him, to close to his fear, to his vulnerability, to his anger, and to be in an intimate relationship with him, and then the audience will be ready to follow him. And that's why, in fact, one of the reasons I work with Hugh Jackman is that depth and that generosity, and it's a very powerful actor. So it was what he brought to the story, a lot of humanity to the character.
Two men who clash, yet somehow understand each other, translated directly onto the screen. And Denis Villeneuve knew he was watching something special.
Chemistry between Hugh and Jake was fantastic. Yeah. At one point, I took the decision I never work, Roger Deakins and I, we approach cinema with one camera usually. We don't like to work with several cameras, but with those two guys, we decided to work with two cameras in order to be able to capture their fantastic tennis game, I should say, when they were playing one against each other. It was for me, because the rule was that once the scene was nailed, they were free to improvise and to get out of the frame of the scene in order to create chaos and poetry.
And from Hugh's own perspective, Jake brought something to the film that held everything else together.
Jake anchors it emotionally, which is one of the greatest compliments, because that's what Jake brought to it. And it's not just he's not just the protagonist in a way. He is the facilitator. His restrained performance emotionally does anchor the movie and allows, in a way, the histrionics of all the other characters to be rooted in reality.
With the performances locked and the cameras rolling, Prisoners was becoming exactly what Aaron Guzikowski intended: a story with no easy answers. And nowhere was that clearer than in its most debated creative decision: its ending.
Yeah, it was always in the script that, and it just kind of cuts out like that. And that was something I definitely figured was going to get changed in a big way. And there was definitely moments where certain people were involved and like, no, it's not going to end like that. It's going to keep going. And my character, and there were all sorts of discussions and whatnot, but it never actually changed. And then we got to shoot it the way we wanted to shoot it, and the producers were behind it, and everybody was kind of behind it, but the producers were still like, well, we're going to shoot an alternate too, just in case, it doesn't work for whatever reason. And they did that, so I wrote sort of an alternate, so that scene kind of goes on for another 2 minutes or so.
Right.
And they shot that, but then thankfully they were able to use the original.
When Prisoners was released, critics praised its performances, direction, screenplay, and cinematography. It eventually earned Roger Deakins an Academy Award nomination for Best Cinematography. But awards aren't why people still talk about it. Because the true mystery of Prisoners isn't where the girls went. It's how far people are willing to go when they think they have nothing left to lose. And maybe that's why, more than 10 years later, we're still talking about it.
Not down there.
Tell me the name of your buddy down there, huh?
I don't know his name.
Huh?
I don't know it.
You don't know his name, huh? Hey, I spent 6 years in the Huntington Boys Home, Father. Huh? You know the Huntington Boys Home, huh? Be a real treat to her like you.
You can back him up with doubles, but I think it's pretty serious. Just